Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? Well, he's not that great of an actor, so chances are he's not that great of a cook. My name is Merrill, not Emerald, and this is not a cooking show. This is a drawing show. I'm going to give you 7 simple steps that will help you draw The Rock very easily. All you'll need is a pencil, some paper, and a slightly above average attention span. Let's begin. Step 1. Draw the box shape with the line going through it. Notice that the box is slightly trapezoidal and the line is slightly curved. Step 2 is the hardest step, but I'm going to help you with it. First, notice that there is one eye length in between the 2 eye shapes. After you notice the spacing in between the eyes, notice that the eye on our right is touching the eyebrow. That eye is more closed, and you could only see half of the pupil and iris. In comparison, the eye on our left is a lot wider, and there is spacing in between the eyebrow and the eye. In both eyes, notice that there is spacing between the lower eyelid and the pupil and iris. Step 3. Use the box as a reference point and draw in the shape for the nose. Step 4. The 2 bottom points go to the edges for the mouth shape. Notice that it is almost a straight line down from the center of the eye, but not exactly. Step 5. Connect the edge of the eyebrow to the bottom of the line below the box and move it onwards to your upper left, but leave some space. The Rock's face might seem extra wide, but it's okay. He's got muscles. Step 6. Add the shape for the Rock's ear. Don't stress it too much. If you slightly get the shapes on the inside of the Rock's ear wrong, nobody's going to notice. For step 7, complete the head shape. If you notice, the Rock has a fairly large forehead, and the shape for the hair is almost like a banana shape. Traditional proportions go out the window with the Rock. Usually, one nose length is equal to the forehead and also equal to the bottom of the nose to the chin. That is not true with the Rock. Observe from this image and draw. Okay, so now it is time for the shading tutorial, and for the hair, you just want to keep it as simple as possible. Don't just fill in the shape, go a little bit out, because our hair is not flat, it has texture to it. Feel free to go outside of that shape a little bit higher and a little bit lower. But for the most part, when this picture was taken, he had a very strong hairline. It's receded since, but this is the young Rock. It's a very solid hairline. Moving on to the eyes, you don't want to overdo it. With the shading, you want to show the whites of the eye. That's pretty important. The key is one eye has separation from the eyebrow, while the other one does not. The other one is almost, the eyebrow, the eyelashes and the eyebrow are connected, and, very different than the other eye, where there's a space. You do a little bit of shading in that space, but for the most part, one is connected, one is not. So I want to also discuss the materials that I used. Pretty much a pencil. You'll see me use a blending stump. Pencil is number 2 pencil, regular run-of-the-mill pencil. Bought it at the dollar store. You'll see me use a square eraser a little bit later. There's some very subtle shading to this, that I tried to do. You'll see a lot of different darks and lights, but it's very well blended in, and you really don't get the likeness until you really get that shading done. He's got a very fit face, opposite of fat face. It's very angular. You have very hard lines, um, but you also have like those soft transitions. You see the jawbone on both sides. The light is coming the from our left hand side in this image, and it illuminates the jawbone very differently on our left than it does on the right. But for the most part, that's a highlight. On the right hand side, it's a highlight within the shadow. You slowly build that, and it will eventually develop. Took me about an hour to get. Some people it takes longer, some people it takes shorter. The key to cross hatching, do it slowly, slowly work it up, and you will get it. I try to be consistent with my shading. If you notice, there's an area on the side of his head, on our left, that is in highlight, and his hair is short there, so I kind of almost made it like a fade on the side, but the area by the ear I made lighter, and it's longer on the top and darker, so just did that. Um, Most of this was done with just a number 2 pencil, as I said. You'll see me go in a little bit later with a 2B and a 4B pencil, but keeping it simple is the best way to get started, at least, and you could put the finishing touches on the other way. Here you see me use the square eraser. Now I'm using a paintbrush. Got a little bit lazy. I used a blending stump. It was right there, and I really prefer the brush. I strongly recommend that you use a brush. Blending stump will push it in a little bit too far. Too far. The brush, it gives a nice, soft movement to the shading. Once you get your fingers in there, I don't know an artist that doesn't use their fingers, but once you get the fingers in there, it's going to be tougher, and it takes a little bit more skill to move the shading around with that. It's like mud versus dirt. That's a pretty solid analogy for it. I am just doing hints of his body. I didn't feel like drawing his entire body. A lot of portrait artists do this, but he's got very well developed trapezius muscles, and I'm putting them in. Strong shadow below his neck kind of mirrors the dark hair on the top of his head, and also the tone of the eyebrows. Everything else is a neutral in there, and just do your best to work from this reference image at this point. I'd pause it at the end of the video, try to draw. I've heard there's no more video responses on YouTube. Is that true? Somebody leave a comment. I usually ask you guys to leave video responses, and I get a kick out of that. Love to see those, but if there are no more, upload it perhaps. Upload it to YouTube and post it to my Facebook page. The link is in the video description below. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.